Alright, so I'm not gonna lie, I had already recorded this topic before, but I chose to redo it again due to the fact that I'm not gonna lie, it felt off, right? And I'll explain why. Because a lot of commentary YouTubers write scripts, and I wrote a script and it was pretty solid, right? But it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel like me personally. So what I am gonna plan to do is I'm going to try my best to just wing this. I feel like I just do better when I wing it, and my videos are longer and better quality. Of course, there's sometimes where I mess up, but it's better when I just go off the dome than just script it and just read off a script. If anything, I'm really just bad at reading. That really might just be the issue. But we're gonna try it today. Again, the topic that we are going over is Swordsmith Village Arc Tanjiro versus Tengen Uzui. Will Tanjiro be able to close the gap versus Tengen? That is something that we will be discussing today. Now, going into this is pretty overwhelming because I honestly thought that I misinterpreted a lot of things with Tanjiro scaling in particular, but we're gonna go over that today. So, starting off with Tanjiro, starting off with him fighting the emotion demons, he's able to somewhat react to them, but is still beneath them. He gets overwhelmed on multiple occasions until he goes one-on-one with the joy demon, the demon with the wings, and he does get overwhelmed at first, but he ends up adapting after he cuts the joy demon and he splits, and his attack gets weaker, which Tanjiro is then able to take the joy demon out by outsmarting him and just catching up to him in general, right? So after he does that, he's also able to outsmart the anger demon by using the joy demon's flesh to stop his lightning, right? So he gets complimented by the anger demon because of this. Due to this, he's able to almost free Nezuko, or he's able to free Nezuko actually and save her, although I forgot which demon it was, but the one with the fan is able to absolutely pummel them into the floor with the wind, which incapacitates them for a little bit, leaving them pretty knocked out until Nezuko wakes up and saves them. But moving on a little bit further, Nezuko gets trapped under a rubble and she ignites Tanjiro's sword, which allows his sword to turn burning red, where he gets inherited memories of Yorichi, and it indicates that he was able to turn his sword red as well, where Tanjiro just goes on a little bit of talking of how he's been weak and he needs to get stronger, and he unlocks his mark. And it's kind of arguable if this is just Tanjiro, if this is either Tanjiro's just his speed in general, or is the fact that he off guarded the emotion demons because they got the Muzan memories kind of like put them in front of their face, like they got the Muzan PTSD, and after that Tanjiro blitzes all of them with Dragon Sen Halo head dance. After he does do that though, he is able to consistently react to them and even like blitz them on multiple occasions, and the anger demon even states himself like Tanjiro speeding up, and he keeps blitzing them. Even when Tanjiro is smacked to the floor by one of the emotion demons with the wind fan, he's able to still cut him at the same time. So Tanjiro is pretty possibly a blitz tier above them at that point, because he could just pretty much blitz them, right? Or pretty much blitz them, but it's not super consistent. But we go on further for Zohakuten's arrival, where Tanjiro just gets fear hexed and can barely do anything and just gets overwhelmed and almost killed by Zohakuten, but of course Mitsuri comes in, right? And even just moving on further from that, you have Tanjiro using the thunder style, or the thunder breathing technique, where they can strengthen all of their legs and get faster, which he uses to decapitate Urogi, or Urumi, I think is the demon's name. It's the emotion of resentment, if I'm not mistaken. And he's able to cut off his head. Although he cuts off his head, he still keeps moving alive, because that's not the real It's not the real Hantengu. The real Hantengu is in um, Urumi's heart. So, Tanjiro goes on to try again, where he's able to use his heightened senses, his smelling, to sense out or sniff out Hantengu, where he decapitates him in one go, meaning that he was able to cut his head off, right? So with that, um, I'll almost conclude with his scaling, although I do want to mention one thing, a statement that was brought up early in SSVA, that Tanjiro is not Hashira level just yet. He has the movements of a Hashira, but he is not Hashira level just yet, right? Keep that in mind, because I'll go back to this when I come to my conclusion. Let's go into Tengen scaling. So starting off with Tengen, Tengen is able to blitz Daki, pretty relatively easy, but that's not that important. I know y'all not there for that, but he's able to get outsped by Gyutaro and complements his reflexes. But when Tengen tries to go in for another attack on Gyutaro, Gyutaro goes in for attack, and Tengen, instead of attacking, has to go on the defense and just block his attack. Although even though he blocks him, he doesn't fully block the attack, he still takes damage. He gets a cut on his forehead, right? So from that point on, we can go a little bit further when Tengen is fighting Gyutaro like somewhat by himself, while Zenitsu and Inosuke are fighting Daki. He's not going super relative with Gyutaro. He can somewhat react to him to the point where he's not like dying, but Gyutaro is able to keep getting cuts off on him and attacks. And if it wasn't for Tanjiro, actually there's a high chance Tengen would have been taken out the fight a lot sooner, as we see Tanjiro saves his life from getting cut and poisoned more, or even possibly dying. So, going on a little bit further, I do want to debunk something really quick. When Hinatsuru uses the kunais on Gyutaro and Tengen, if people don't know, they're laced with wisteria, right? So Gyutaro is not expecting Tengen to run through these kunais. So when he does, he's off guarded by it. But he also gets hit with a kunai at the same time, which, he gets his legs cut off and slowed down his regeneration. But even with that, Gyutaro is able to adapt to the poison and regenerate his legs in time to react to Tengen and Tanjiro at the same time. But, when Tengen and Gyutaro get their one-on-one again, Gyutaro takes Tengen out the fight in general. Like, he cuts off his arm. Supposedly his heart is stopped, but we know that's not true, as he saves Tanjiro later within the fight, right? And with that, we get MST Tengen, which is an entirely different realm than base Tengen, is what it seems like. Now, due to the poison, he cannot cut off Gyutaro's head. I think the poison is really just a strength nerf. I don't think it nerfs anything else but like strength and physical strength and capability, probably. But Tengen is able to block and counter most of Gyutaro's attacks after that. I think all of them, if anything. And then Gyutaro, states that he was able to stop his heart. They keep clashing and everything. So Tengen at that point is able to consistently react to Gyutaro now. Even poisoned with one hand, with MST is able to consistently react to Gyutaro due to MST giving him great precognition and a good read of his opponent's attacks. Now, I'll conclude my Tengen scaling with that alone, right? So let's get into my conclusion of my interpretation for both of these characters. Now, although Tanjiro is a lot stronger than his previous self, I do not think it's on the level of Gyutaro or Tengen just yet, due to the statement reinforcing Tanjiro is not on the level of a Hashira, although that does leave it up to us to think of how strong Mark Tanjiro is, as he's able to incapacitate and beat the emotion demons besides Zohakuten, which aren't comparable to the other emotion demons, as they're significantly strong, or as he's significantly stronger. But we do know base Mitsuri is able to go relative with that Zohakuten somewhat, that Tanjiro was getting fear hexed by and just scared of and almost died to, right? So we can just assume, Mark Tanjiro isn't even on the level of a base Hashira yet. You can say that he's borderline level of a Hashira. I don't mind that. My interpretation is he's borderline of a Hashira too. but I don't think he's reached that Hashira tier just yet, due to the fact that he hasn't really done anything at that point to really prove that. And just with the statement reinforcing and his current feats, I just don't think he'd be at Gyutro's level or Tengen's level yet. But I will say I don't think it's a Blitz tier above. I don't think I don't think Gyutro and Tengen are a Blitz tier above. Blitz tier above Tanjiro. I do think that he can react to them, but I just don't think he could beat them or outpace or outspeed them in general. I think that they can still beat him. So as for my conclusion for Tengen versus Tanjiro, I think Tengen is able to clear Tanjiro at this point, but it's safe to say that after Source of Village arc and after the Hashira training arc, that Tanjiro versus Tengen is no longer a debate in comparison. But this is a fun little topic I thought of. It was fun to scale both of these characters, and I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I've been a little sick, kinda, so that's why my voice sounds like this a little bit. But I'm pretty much out of here, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.